Polk's War of Aggression in 1848, formalized by the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, did not bring peace and order to the newly conquered lands. Instead, it plunged the nation and the vast Mexican territory into a political and moral vacuum. The Democratic Party, having achieved its continental conquest, immediately fractured over the spoils, leaving the new American citizens and native populations in a violent, chaotic limbo for the final year of Polk's term. Southern Democrats and their allies insisted that the Constitution protected a citizen's right to take property, including enslaved persons, into the new territories, thereby extending the domain of slavery. Northern Democrats, wary of a Southern political takeover, largely rallied around the idea of popular sovereignty, a manipulative compromise that punted the inflammatory decision to the settlers, implicitly permitting the spread of slavery while avoiding a direct congressional ban. Congress, paralyzed by this sectional deadlock that the war had amplified, refused to establish civil governments for California and New Mexico. The lands were therefore left under a hostile, ineffective military rule, which amounted to no rule at all. This lawless void coincided with the immediate aftermath of the 1848 gold discovery in California, an event that became the catalyst for unimaginable atrocities. The treaty had promised to protect the property and civil rights of the former Mexican citizens, the Californios and Nuevo Mexicanos. But with the military preoccupied and a civil government non-existent, the land was overrun by a horde of American settlers. These newcomers, driven by racist animus and the greed of the gold rush, saw the existing non-white populations as obstacles to be removed. The resulting violence was a campaign of deliberate genocide against the indigenous nations of California. Settlers and informal militias, often with the tacit or explicit support of military personnel and later by state-sanctioned acts, descended upon native villages. Massacres were frequent and brutal, aimed at the extermination of entire communities. The indigenous population, already devastated by disease and the harsh labor of the Spanish and Mexican mission systems, plummeted further as survivors faced systematic starvation, the destruction of their hunting and gathering grounds, and wholesale displacement. Native men, women, and children were kidnapped, raped, and forced into indentured servitude, a system of de facto slavery legally sanctioned in the coming years by the very Americans who claimed to be extending the blessings of liberty. The Californios and other Mexican citizens, nominally protected by the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, also found their rights systematically violated. Their loosely defined land grants were ignored or usurped by squatters. When they attempted to assert their property claims in the military courts, they were often bankrupted or disenfranchised. In the goldfields, non-white miners, including Mexicans, Chileans, and Chinese immigrants, were subjected to racial violence, driven out of rich claims, and targeted with high foreign miner taxes, enforcing a racial hierarchy that put the new American settlers firmly on top, often through armed force and summary justice. By the time Polk left office in March 1849, the Democratic promise of national greatness had created a massive political crisis over slavery, cemented an inherently racist system in the West, and presided over a reign of terror and lawlessness in the new territories where basic human rights were disregarded in the stampede for gold and land. The political limbo engineered by a deadlocked Congress had devolved into a humanitarian catastrophe on the frontier.